My name is Scott Wahl, W-A-H-L, Chief of Police for the San Diego Police Department.
Can you tell us about what are we doing here? Just
Yes.
briefly.
All right. So I'd like to acknowledge the hard work and effort put forth by the Commission to bring forward these recommendations. We are always looking to make sure that our policies and procedures are the best they can be, and we really see this moment as an opportunity for us to do just that. I'm proud of the work that we've been able to do together. We're looking at implementing 6 of the 9 recommendations that the Commission has brought to us, and I think overall it makes for a safer policy for vehicle pursuits moving forward.
Can you talk to us about those recommendations? You mentioned 9. What are those?
Well, can you give me a little bit more fight? I'm not going to list all 9 of them. It's like a 4-page
just talk
document.
to me about the 6 that
Yeah.
they're going to be implemented.
Well, I think we're looking at ways of providing better training, defining our purpose in our vehicle pursuit, tracking data better, and looking at ways that we can review the information that we have on vehicle pursuits to refine our procedure moving forward. The whole goal and intent is to provide constant improvement and work collaboratively with the Commission.
Sir, I don't know how many other police agencies San Diego borders, but I could think of at least a dozen in my head. How does SDPD interact with those other agencies on these pursuits? Like when a pursuit leaves the city or a pursuit from another city enters this city, how do these kind of policies affect that interaction between agencies?
So we took a look at policies and procedures from other agencies, including the California Highway Patrol and several of our neighboring agencies. It's important to understand that we have protocols in place here when pursuits change from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. There are a lot of things that come into play where you are changing potential radio frequencies, you're changing personnel from one agency to the next, and we have a collaborative relationship with all of our local agencies to make sure that, one, we're providing for public safety when conducting pursuits, and we're weighing out the risks to public safety of continuing them, going from jurisdiction to jurisdiction.
So does that rules of engagement that we're talking about in these documents and these policy changes, do those change when the officers leave the city?
They potentially could, certainly. A neighboring agency could terminate the pursuit and has the right to terminate the pursuit going through their jurisdiction.
And what about when another city enters San Diego? What could you expect of them with regard to these policies? Because it could look bad if there's a crash or an injury within the city from another agency. How do you explain that to the public?
Yeah, well, so I'm not sure what your question is.
So let's say National City brings a pursuit into the city and it crashes in the city and somebody's injured. All the eyes are going to be on San Diego PD. So, at least from the public.
I don't know, not necessarily. They're going to be
Maybe
looking
not.
at National City for conducting their pursuit, but just like when we go into neighboring jurisdictions and when other jurisdictions come into our area, we have the ability to terminate when things become unsafe or outweigh the risks or outweigh the rewards, not risks. Just like when we go into neighboring agencies or jurisdictions, when they come into ours, we have the ability to terminate those pursuits if the risks become too great and the rewards of continuing that pursuit are outweighed by those risks.
So
That
you
sounds
do have
like
the
a terrible
ability.
soundbite too.
You do have the ability to
It's
ask
refining the
another.
question. I mean, essentially, yeah. When
Yeah.
when going back and forth, if the risks are unsafe, then we have the ability to terminate those pursuits. That's really with anything that we're doing in vehicle pursuits, even in our jurisdiction.
Because I hear a lot of pursuits that maybe come from the CHP, and as far as, I could hear none of the dispatchers or the officers for the city are even aware of the pursuit, has entered the city's service streets, and it's over before you even know about it. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know about
some
that.
of
So-
them happen so quick.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where you're going with that, but so typically what will happen when a pursuit comes into our area, their dispatchers will notify us. We do have communication on whether we're going to take over a pursuit for that neighboring agency that's coming into our jurisdiction. It's important that we may not understand what's happening in a certain area when that home jurisdiction is aware. So that dialogue is critically important when we're going from jurisdiction to jurisdiction.
Okay. I'm gonna go back a bit. Sorry, we have a problem with our camera. It's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want to know, Chief. You say in the news release that you're gonna start to implement another techniques besides the recommendations for the commission, like better collect of the data and analysis. Can you share us more about that?
Sure.
It's more than that.
Sure. Well, we looked at the recommendations that the commission brought forward. We're always open to making changes that make our police department more effective and our community safer. Gathering data and being able to analyze that data to refine our policy even further moving forward, I think is important. And coming from these recommendations is, things like gathering better data. I see that as an improvement moving forward.
In which way will be getting better this data and everything?
I think when we identify trends in vehicle pursuits or best practices that can make our community safer, we'll have the ability to implement them moving forward. And I think this is a constant refinement organizationally, and I think that just really it goes towards our public safety first goal.
We went to some of these meetings of the commission, and they were very passionate about this situation. They spoke about the loss of these two kids, an officer. What will be the message for them specifically? Because I know you say just, or in the release say that just 6 of these 9 recommendations will be followed.
Mm-hmm.
About the other 3 that it won't be followed.
Yes. Anytime there's a loss of life associated with a vehicle pursuit or anything that's law enforcement related, is a very tragic moment. As a father of 4 kids, I can't imagine the pain. I think it's important to note that we have a procedure in place that mitigates the risks of vehicle pursuits. The training that we provide our police officers, they're required to drive with due regard and take into consideration from the beginning of the pursuit all the way to the end of the pursuit, the risks versus the rewards of continuing. Additionally, we have layers of supervision that are responsible for ensuring the safety for the public is at the forefront, safety for our police officers, as well as the safety for the person we're trying to apprehend. We're responsible for providing safety for all. But I believe that our procedure has that built in, those safety protocols. I think it sends the wrong message when you put restrictive pursuit measures in place, that fleeing from the police has no consequences. And that's just not a risk that we're willing to take.
And just today, NBC7 released an investigation between 2017 to 2013. The police of San Diego has 17% more of crashes or accidents after a pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
This is more than the sheriff that has 50.2%, or even all California, 13.71. My question is, what went wrong in these pursuits that ended on crashes?
Well, I would note that 0.2% of our pursuits over the last 5 years have ended in a fatality. 0.2. Anytime there's a loss of life, it's a tragic moment. And I think we are constantly looking to reform our procedures, our training, and our practices. We're constantly making sure that we are evaluating the risk versus reward. And I think we have the safety measures in place, but it sends the wrong message if you put these restrictive measures in place. We've seen other jurisdictions do it, up in Oakland, state of Washington, and then have to change course to combat rising crime. So I think it's important that we are constantly evaluating risks versus rewards, keeping at the forefront that it is very dangerous to have vehicle pursuits. But if we train properly, we have the proper policy and procedure in place, it provides for that enhanced public safety.
With this, we are saying that we are going to see a change of course in the way the police do pursuits in San Diego, and we will see new techniques, new stuff on this kind of pursuits.
Well, we are constantly evaluating our policies and procedures, and we see this moment at looking at these recommendations as really an opportunity for us to continue evaluating our procedures. We're implementing many of the recommendations that the Commission has brought forward, and I want to thank them for working collaboratively with us on it.
And last question, exists any plan to decrease this amount of accidents after a pursuit?
I would say that our procedure is in place to mitigate the risks that are involved in a pursuit. That's a constant evaluation and study and refinement moving forward. We don't see this as an end state. We see this as a constant dialogue constant improvement moving forward.
Thank you so much.
Speaking to one of the activists outside, I asked her, what would be for them one of the options to, solutions, and they say they use more often of the helicopter. How much will that cost us?
Well, that is a tactic that we use, and that is a goal. We try to get the helicopter up above to follow a pursuit, and we can terminate that pursuit and then pick the person up when they get out of the vehicle. That is a common practice that we use. It's not a matter of how much that costs, it's a matter of keeping the funding to keep our helicopters up in the air so that we can use them as a tool to help keep the community safe.
Right now, what's the protocol to use a helicopter? How long, within distance, or how is does the police department make the decision, okay, it's time to send the helicopter and not just on land?
Well, we request a helicopter for each and every pursuit. If there's one in the air, then they're able to quickly respond. If they're on the ground, then they've got to go through certain protocols to be ready to get into the air. That does take time. So really, it's about requesting that resource. It's one that we do regularly because they're an important tool at maintaining a safe vehicle pursuit.
With a follow-up on the ABLE program,
Mm-hmm.
You have 4 helicopters currently. 3 out of the 4, I think, have just been replaced.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many pilots you have, but is there any effort, or what do you think the chance are of getting more equipment, more operators of the equipment, so that the uptime can be greater? Because it
Yeah.
seems like, I don't know
Sure.
how many hours a day they're in the air, but it's not 24.
Yeah. No, it isn't. Our air support unit does not have 24-hour day coverage. It's an expensive unit for us to have, but they provide an incredible officer safety resource and public safety resource for us. And certainly we're always looking at ways to keep them in the air, to keep our helicopters functioning and working well so that they can stay in the air. It's a very important tool for us.
Thank you.
I think I have one more. It's kind of a little off topic, if I could stray. Encryption. So you're one of the last agencies in San Diego to not encrypt police dispatch. As media, we really appreciate that. It's very useful to us. Is there any plans, changes, things that we should worry about?
No, I mean, that's complicated, right? There's a lot that goes into the radios and shared communication systems here throughout the region. The funding that goes to pay for it is very expensive, but it's difficult. Communications is key, and there's a lot of stakeholders involved in our regional communication system. So where exactly we're at with that right now, I don't know, but yeah, I think they're looking still to go towards encryption.
Has anybody looked at, correlation between, more serious crime, gang and narc type of activity in unencrypted areas of the city versus encrypted areas like the sheriff's areas? Is there any correlation between crime and encrypted or not encrypted?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you right now. I'm not sure if that analysis has been done. Again, there's a lot of stakeholders involved in our regional communication system here. I would say I side on having common communications because it's critical, public safety, that we do have common communications.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. I don't know what you did with where'd they go.
The good.
All right, I guess just start with your name.
Tasha Williamson, Tasha Williamson.
And you are?
I'm a community advocate here in support of the families that lost Malachi and Mason, and also the community at large that is truly unsafe with the current SDPD pursuit policy.
So my question for you is, how does your advocacy for the, victims here in San Diego, do you work in any other cities like Chula Vista National City, or do you talk to those agencies?
Most definitely. National City is where Earl McNeil was murdered, and it was a cover-up, and so we were there and first on the scene to expose the cover-up that was happening, showing that officers actually killed him. Medical examiner reported it a homicide because they put 2 spit masks and his sweater over his face so he could not breathe. and left him like that until he died. We deal with Chula Vista Police Department. The relationship with Chula Vista Police Department is a little different because they are more open to sitting down and having discussions and looking at changes of policies that they need to make. Sometimes we have understanding, sometimes we don't, but they're very respectful of that. SDPD is just been an adversary, response of, trying to make me look bad or make them look bad, and it's not about that. This is truly about doing the right things.
Do you find that, like, because they're a big department, are they unapproachable because of that, or do you think that there's just other ingrained issues that make them not want to change?
I think that their corruption is too deep. I think that one chief alone is not going to change a department that's allowed to be corrupt for so long.
Right. So how have you gotten involved with the victims of any of these pursuits?
The victims actually reached out to me in this particular case and asked for support, and so we supported them and helped them get in contact with other agencies that do trauma support, court support, provide services and other supports, and then we were there to support them through the court process, through the process of letting the mom know that her kids were deceased, and having a trauma counselor there, as well as a pastor there at her bedside. We've supported the family in just knowing the laws and processes of SDPD, because I believe I'm well versed in what their policies and procedures are. And so any other instances of things, helping them decide on attorneys and giving them information about attorneys so that they can make a good decision, which they did. And so those are things that we've helped them in, making sure that the public is aware of what's going on with the families. We've been able to do that type of stuff and advocacy, and then making sure that the family is aware, what's going on as well.
If you could change one thing and one thing only about the department here in San Diego, what would it be?
One thing.
One thing. You get one wish.
Accountability.
Okay, very good.
Accountability.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work too.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Give you one of these.
Thank you.